Okay, so for the arm, really the arm was much slower to come along than the leg. I was actually able to walk around with a walker before I could do anything with the leg, with the arm. And after about a week in the hospital rehab, I could move my middle finger just a tiny bit. After another week, I could move my thumb just a tiny bit. And by the end of the third week, I could move my arm if it was like strapped to what they called a skate, which had wheels on it. And the whole purpose of that was it would take away any friction and any gravity weight from the arm. So basically, I could move the arm, but with virtually no weight or any resistance on it. So once I got out and got to external or outpatient rehab, the arm already had started to progress a little bit, and I was able to move the elbow much more and the shoulder much more. And just recently I'm now being able to move the wrist a little better. Some big problems I have is when I exercise, especially the arm, the fingers tend to cramp up. That's pretty normal. The therapist doesn't seem to care, but it bothers me a lot. They tend to cramp up like that. So a lot of these exercises I'd like to do with an open hand, but I end up doing them with like a closed hand only because I have to. I can't control it. And just recently, within the last week or so, as it clenches up like that, the whole hand tends to hurt. It's basically in a cramp type state. But I'm working on it, and the wrist, I've got a little bit of movement there in the wrist now. So let's talk about how I exercise the arm. Typically the first thing I do is just some stretching. So I try to loosen up the shoulder joint and the elbow joint by doing a couple of just stretches where my left arm, the good one, is really pretty much doing all the work. The right arm, the weak one, is just along for the ride, just to kind of stretch out the joints, the ligaments, and everything in the joints. I don't necessarily have to do a lot of this, but I try to do it, vertically, diagonally, horizontally, I guess you would say. And then also important is up and down. That loosens up the elbow a little bit, the pecs, that sort of thing. I do have fairly good strength in the arm in some directions and very weak in others. So for example, if I bring the arm all the way back behind my head, I do have the ability to strength and control to bring it all the way up and down, pretty well controlled. I can't really bring it back. That's about as far as I've ever gotten. I need help bringing it back, so the muscles in that direction are different, obviously, and they're much weaker. So I try to do these. The important part is when I get to the apex, to not let it flop, to control the descent. The other thing I do, and again this is like 3 reps of 10, is using a ball and using my other hand to sort of stabilize and guide a little bit, is the same type of motions you saw in the stretch, but now it's really the right arm that's doing most, if not all, of the work. So this is exercising the tricep there in the weak arm. In the beginning this was really, really hard. It's still a little challenging, but certainly I'm much better at this now than I was. The other thing is, once we get it up here, is to do what you saw me doing without the ball, up and down. But now with the ball and a little bit of help from the left, I can get it to go all the way back. So again, 10 sets, or 3 sets of 10, certainly helps. Certainly gets me going. Now, you want to try and keep everything as straight and controlled and do things nice and slow, just like the other exercises. The last one is more of a diagonal kind of a movement. And again, it's just trying to, strengthen all the various muscles in your arm and chest. So really it's the right arm that's trying to do all the work of pushing back up. Going down, there's nothing holding it to the ball, so it's me trying to control the descent, keeping it nice and slow and controlled, and then trying to use the right arm to do almost all the work, pushing it back up. So that's it for shoulder, elbow, motion work on the mat. Another thing I do on the mat with the arm is weight bearing and weight transfer. So here sometimes it's challenging because, like I said, these fingers want to curl. So it's a good time for me to try and stretch them back out. Get them to do what they want, what they don't want to do, but what they should do. And also the wrist. Take my time slowly stretching out the wrist because it too is very tight, just like the fingers. And as I stretch that, it really, I can feel the muscles all the way up into my elbow are tight. I don't know, I still think that's very important to try and keep that as loose and flexible as possible. And the goal here is to be able to get up onto both arms. You notice this elbow doesn't really want to stay open. About a week ago it was really floppy. So I have to say within the last week or so I've gotten better control over that elbow. And so now it's just a matter of transferring weight on and off it to lean into it, and that puts weight all the way down, compresses the joints, and all of those things tend to liven up and waken up the nerves. Now, once we've kind of loosened everything up and stretched, I've got two exercises that I really do try and concentrate on for the arm. One is the triceps, because when you're up like this, when you do stuff, your biceps are constantly getting work because just you're moving around doing things. But your triceps don't. Gravity just tends to drop it. So it's important to try and exercise the triceps, independently. And the other is the external rotators. Now, from what I understand, most people who've had a stroke have virtually zero control of their external rotators. I guess I'm lucky in the sense that I do have some control. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and show you the tricep first. Very simple. What you're doing is, using gravity to assist you. So from up here, we bend the arm as low as we can, and then we use the triceps to pull it back up. And again, this is one exercise that I've seen really good improvement over the last week or two. So going from basically 3 weeks ago not being able to move my arm at all, I'm now able to extend my tricep quite well. And I do this again, 3 sets of 10.